It was Scotland's worst ever paedophile ring, and it was given the nickname the Beastie House. On the 21st of March 2020, a middle-aged man was sitting in his living room when he suddenly heard loud banging and screaming coming from upstairs. A young girl who would often come to that house for food and support through the couple's community and church had woken up from a nap and was hysterical, shouting, "Get me out, get me out." Later that evening, the man who owned the house spoke to the two older children who were also spending time at the property, and what they told him was absolutely horrifying. They described how the young girl who was freaking out earlier was regularly locked up in a cupboard, a place that they called the Beastie House. She would scream and kick at the door. She would be begging to be let out. When the police later interviewed her, she said it was dark and scary and it was full of bugs. But it didn't stop there. The children said that this little girl had been put inside the oven with the door closed, locked in the fridge, even put in the freezer, and on one occasion, other children secretly adjusted the temperature so that she wouldn't freeze to death. She was also hung from a nail by her clothes, forced to eat dog food until she was sick, and subjected to repeated and ongoing abuse. The trial later heard that she was essayed while she was still young enough to wear a nappy. She told the police, "It's not nice when people laugh at you when you are hurting." The abuse that this little girl went through was described as organised, sometimes timed, with different people taking turns while others would then watch. The man whose house this little girl had been staying at reported everything to the police the next morning, and officers asked him to keep a journal of everything that the children were saying to him. So that is exactly what he did. When the police were investigating, it emerged that all three children had already been known to the authorities since 2018. They were all under 13 years old at this time. The two older children had also been abused as well. The girl was described as gaunt, with dark rings under her eyes and severe head lice. The boy was extremely thin, covered in bruises and scratches. They were regularly beaten, forced to take drugs and alcohol, made to carry out tasks including delivering drugs to different places. In 2023, after a 9-week trial at the High Court in Glasgow, the full scale of the abuse was revealed, and it was worse than anyone could have ever imagined. 7 people would be found guilty: Ian Owens, Elaine Lannery, Leslie Williams, Paul Brannan, Scott Forbes, Barry Watson, and John Clark. They were jailed for between 8 and 20 years and given lifelong restriction orders, meaning that they will remain under supervision for the rest of their lives, depending on whenever they get out.